Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head to England for the first time in a little while, and we're going to return to a brewery that I haven't reviewed anything from maybe in about 2 years or so, but the beers that I've had from these guys before have always been very nice, so it's quite nice to be able to return to these guys after a little while. So for this review then we are going to go to Bermondsey in London, and we're having a look at another beer from the Kernel Brewery. So this one is the Biere de Saison Mosaic, which comes in at 5.3% ABV, and they're describing this one as a mixed culture Saison aged in French oak barrels and then blended and dry hopped. And this one obviously has been dry hopped with the lovely Mosaic hops. So yeah, I've not had a Saison in quite a wee while, and as I say, this is my first beer from the Kernel in a good long time. We got this one through Systembolaget here in Sweden. It came as part of the Tillfällig assortment, the small partiers, the temporary assortment basically, on the 3rd of April 2020. And you know, the Kernel beers, we do get quite a few beers from Kernel through in that assortment, but this is the first one I've picked up in a little while. This one was a wee bit more pricey. I think this one was about 48 crowns or so, so what would that translate to, about £4 or something. But as I say, Kernel's been getting a lot of rave reviews. I know that the English guys like Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, Jaco Beer, Harry, and you know, these guys, they can get a hold of Kernel fairly easily and they rate them pretty highly. So I thought it would be nice to return to this one and to this brewery and, you know, have a look at one of their beers. So a big shout out to the guys in the beer tubing scene over in England, and make sure you check out their channels. I think you're most likely to find Kernel reviews from Craig at Kent Beer Reviews, Jake at Jaco Beer. I think, you know, I'm not sure about Harry. I think Harry's done a few Kernel beers in the past. Maybe Dean at Dean's Beer Reviews as well as most likely. I think Peter, Clueless Drinker, and Rob Hopsey, I'm not sure how often they review Kernel beers, but make sure you check out all of their channels anyway. All of these guys are doing some very nice videos of different English craft beers. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from the Kernel Brewery before. Hopefully I can add some more in the near future. I need to make sure it's not so long before I review another one of their beers. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to whenever I get the opportunity. Usually when I go back home to Scotland, I review a few English beers as well as mainly Scottish ones. So you'll see that list added to every so often, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about the Kernel Brewery then, on to my brewery notes. So the Kernel Brewery, as I've told you before, are based in Bermondsey in London, and it was founded by Evan O'Riordan, who's originally from Ireland. So he was partly inspired to get into brewing from some friends in New York after they took him to a beer bar, and he was just kind of blown away by the different approach that they had. So he was blown away by the fact that they had the focus on the beer rather than it being a regular pint or a regular bar. And he'd been working in the cheese industry for a long time with Neal's Yard Dairy, and he'd been sent to New York to help Whole Foods set up a cheese room, and he was really quite well versed and became fascinated when he could meet people who were just as knowledgeable as he was about cheese but with beer. So when he decided to get into brewing, he read the books of Charlie Papazian, and then he joined the London Amateur Brewing setup. And when he moved to London, he apparently discovered Brewdog Punk IPA, and this really helped convince him that people were ready to taste the American style craft beers. So they started up the brewery with a small 600 litre kit in a railway arch. I believe it's called Arch 7, and they've just been gradually growing this ever since. But they stick mainly to brewing lighter hoppy beers, and occasionally they'll do some sour beers and dark beers and things like that as well. I think this one is maybe going to turn out to be a sour beer. We'll need to see. But apparently they just, you know, all the people that are working for Kernel take turns at brewing, and then one member of staff brews on average 1 day every fortnight, which is quite interesting. But I was talking with Craig from Kent Beer Reviews, and when I do get to visit him, I do need to go to London at some point in the near future. I need to go to Bristol and visit Harry as well. But hopefully we can go and check out the Kernel's tap room which I think has very recently opened up, and they do have their new tap room. That I think opened about a month or two ago. I think Craig and the other guys were talking about that. But as of April 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, the Kernel have produced around 450 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. I suspect it might be more than that, because I think Untappd started a little bit after Kernel came around. But yeah, these guys are a very, very well respected English craft brewer. A lot of people credit these guys with having kicked off the London craft beer scene. Actually, there's many craft breweries in London these days, but I remember the first ones I encountered were the likes of Beavertown. There was London Fields as well, who I don't think exist anymore, and then there was the Kernel, of course. I think the first beer that I tried from these guys was the table beer, which was like a Belgian style beer, and I'm sure the first time I ever heard of the Kernel Brewery was actually watching Rob at Hopscene, and I'm sure it was one of the table beers that he reviewed actually on his channel. That was one of the I think that might have even been one of the first reviews of Rob's that I watched just after I started actually. So yeah, really interesting brewery this one. It's cool to go back to one of the sort of classic English craft breweries, and like I say, hopefully Craig and some of the other guys and I can go and check out the tap room at some point. It would be nice to go there and film a little out and about video with Craig and do some tastings and things like that. Very, very nice guy. But as I said earlier, make sure you check out the English Beer Tubers. They've got some very, very nice videos. I don't get to review the English beers all that often. But yeah, that's all you need to know about the Kernel Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more, of course, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on. And you can check out the Rate Beer and Untappd pages to keep up to date with all the different beers that they're releasing. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So as you can see, they still have the kind of classic cardboard style artwork that we've come to associate and love with the Kernel Brewery. It tells you a little bit about the beer at the back. But yeah, basically, I know there's been a few different versions of the Biere de Saison, and I think the one that I saw before this was Biere de Saison Goldings. So I think basically what they do with a lot of their beers is they'll tweak the base recipe a little bit, obviously, but then they'll try them with different hops and things to see how they turn out. I mean, the Kernel, I don't think these guys actually have a fixed kind of core range. I think they just do what they feel like, which is always good. It's just a plain silver bottle cap on this one. Like I said to you, this one is a 5.3% ABV Saison. The brewery itself can be found in the Spa Business Park in Bermondsey. And the tap room is a few doors away from that, from what I understand. So yeah, a mixed culture Saison aged in French oak barrels and then blended and dry hopped, and obviously this one has Mosaic in it as well. It says they've added a little bit of sugar in this one as well, which is, you know, the Saison is sort of French. Is it French? Did it originate in France, or is it a Belgian? I can't remember if the Saison originated originally in France, but it's mainly brewed in Belgium these days. They've got the Biere de Saison. I'd love to try a few more Biere de Saison. I know that is a French native beer style. But yeah, nicely presented this one. So without further ado, let's get it out and we will get on with the taste. And I'm very curious to see what this one has in store for us. So yeah, when you open this one up, actually, you can smell some of those lovely sort of sour notes coming out of the beer straight away. I think this one is definitely going to be a lovely sour beer. But as I said to you earlier, this one cost me, I think, 48 crowns, I want to say, so roughly about £4, something like that. I'm not sure how that compares actually to the prices in London. London's quite expensive compared to other parts of England, of course. But yeah, just look at this. This one, you can tell the head on this has just disappeared straight away. But in terms of colour, if I hold this up to the light, this is a very bright kind of goldeny straw type colour beer. You could see there was about a quarter finger of a frothy white head there, but that's just faded away to pretty much be nothing. And this is quite a common thing that you'll get with barrel aged beers. I've always found that barrel aged beers don't tend to have very good head retention. But you can see the beer does have a degree of haze to it. It's not the haziest thing you're going to come across. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just going up towards the surface of the liquid there. But I mean, overall, in terms of a Saison, nothing too surprising about this one. You do expect these to be you do expect these to be quite bright and things. The Saison, of course, if I remember, it's basically the farmhouse. It's the farmhouse ale that you would find in France and the Low Countries. You know, the Saison was always the farmhouse beer. There was one that was for the tin miners, and I forget exactly I forget the style of that, but I'm sure that one had a bit of salt in it as well, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it looks very, very nice, this one. So yeah, let's have a look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Nothing overly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. Oh yeah, that's got some really nice kind of winey. You can really pick up straight away. I think it's white wine. Probably it's white wine barrels this has been put into, because you get that really lovely kind of white, green, grapey, vinous type quality out of this one. You've got a wee bit of those appley, peary esters in there as well. You can smell the oaky wood just underneath it. There is a wee teeny bit of vanilla, but the wood almost comes across as a little bit spicy, I think. It's really the barrel aging that kind of dominates the flavour, the aroma rather, actually. Yeah, I really like how this goes together. I mean, the aroma of this is quite classic, and it's quite classic and just sort of old school barrel aged. I've not had a white wine barrel aged beer in quite a wee while, actually. So this one, again, the main reason I picked this one was because, one, I hadn't had a Saison. I didn't know that it was barrel aged actually when I had it, but I've not had a sort of white wine barrel aged sour beer in quite a wee while, and these always, they can turn out to be quite interesting a lot of the time. But yeah, as I say, the woodiness is quite spicy in this one. You do get a bit of smoothness from the oak. You've got a little bit of a yeah, you've got a wee bit of a kind of vanilla. There is a wee teeny bit of a vanilla quality there. You've got some of the lemony citric note, a little bit of that appley, peary type ester. The white green grapes from the vinous notes too. On the hoppy side of things, you have a little bit of a on the hoppy side of things, you do have a little bit of a grassy kind of floral note out of this one, and you can pick out, there is a wee bit of that tangerine orange from the Mosaic too, but I think that takes a back seat compared to the more kind of vinous qualities that you get out of this beer. I want to say that there is almost a little bit of a kind of biscuity, butterscotchy type thing. There is just a wee bit of sweetness pushing its way out of the malt base in this one, which is quite nice. So be aware of that when you smell the aroma of this beer. This one really comes across as more of a kind of sour thing. There's not too much in the way of Saison-y qualities though. This is the thing that I find quite interesting. I mean, normally with a Saison, you would expect a good little bit of a kind of bready, doughy yeast thing, but you really have to take in the aroma quite deeply to get that with this one. You've got those lovely big kind of, you do get a little bit of that doughy yeasty thing at the back of the nose, and it almost comes across as being a little bit sweet, but I mean otherwise it's quite, it really is mainly, it's the barrel aging and the sort of sour parts of the beer that really come out of this one. So I mean, there is a wee bit of the kind of doughy, bready, yeasty thing from the Saison, but otherwise it is more, does smell more like a kind of barrel aged sour, to be honest with you, which it technically is at the same time. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it, but I think this will be quite an interesting beer. As I say, Kernel have got a very good reputation, and I know that the English guys certainly think quite highly of this brewery. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So this one is the Biere de Saison Mosaic, coming in at 5.3% from the Kernel Brewery over in London in England. Definitely nice to return to these guys. Big shout out to Craig, Jake, Harry, Peter and Rob, all the other English guys. There are a few others who I'm missing at the moment. There are some new English beer tubers as well. Brett, and big shout out to all the guys over in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. That is nice, actually. As I've said with sour beer, this one, you know, it does have a wee bit of a sour aspect to it, but it's nowhere near as sour in the flavour as the aroma gives you the impression of. This is a really, really nice, very smooth beer, actually. As I've said to you before, I've always felt that with the sour beers, it's all about how these beers make their transition from being kind of really sharp and sour in the beginning to sort of smoothing out and becoming a little bit more kind of sweet and things like that. So yeah, I do like how this beer goes together. Yeah, This is really quite nice actually. This is quite a summery beer, to be honest with you. This would be a very nice one to sit and drink in the summer. And I mean, probably part of the thing is that I've not had a beer like this in a wee while, to be honest with you. So I really do like how this one's going together, to be honest. Yeah, let's try and break down the flavour a little bit then. So with this beer, you can definitely feel a bit of the kind of woody, the oakiness, that blankets the middle of your tongue, and on top of that you start to get some of the more saison-y elements out of it. In the middle of your palate you can feel that sort of farmhousey, doughy, white bready kind of thing there. There is a wee bit of a graininess to it towards the back of the palate, but it actually comes across as quite smooth and slightly sweet at some points as well. It's almost like a kind of sweet bready kind of note in the middle of the palate, which is nice. Yeah, so for me this one is, as I say, in the middle of your palate you get a little bit of a kind of sweet biscuity note out of the beer. And I would say that in the middle of the palate you definitely do get a little bit of that kind of sweet kind of McVitie's digestive-y biscuit quality to this one, and you can feel the bready, the kind of doughy, yeasty, bready things just kind of sitting underneath that on top of the smoothness of the wood. If you go further forward you will pick out just a little hint of vanilla, but that's very, very minimal. It's really the kind of farmhousey, doughy type stuff that comes out of this one, which is nice. Yeah, I mean, the thing is with this beer, I'd say that this is very kind of straightforward in terms of its flavour profile. And I think with the other Kernel beers that I've had before, you know, the thing with the other Kernel beers that I've had before, I think I've felt the same. These guys, it's all about how their beers are kind of crafted and how they go together. I've not had an overly, as far as I can think, I've not had an overly complex beer from the Kernel. And I don't remember having a dark beer from these guys either, so I need to see about sorting that, actually see if I can get a nice big imperial stout or something from them. That would definitely be quite nice to have a look at. But for me, this one is it's a really nice easy drinking beer. This would be good on a nice summer's day, you know, to sort of start off your beer day, if you like. Have a nice sour to kick it off, and maybe another one after that, and then move into the IPAs. I very rarely session beer these days because I like doing the tastings rather than you know, sessioning a lot of stuff. But for me, this one is really just, it's very nice and just very, very drinkable. So thumbs up to the Kernel for this. It's a very kind of straight up beer in my mind. So yeah, we've kind of focused. There isn't really too much more to say about the centre of your palate. A woody, sort of nice smooth woody oaky base, a little bit of vanilla further forward, and then you've got the doughy yeasty things kind of sitting on top of that. A little bit of greenness towards the back of the palate, wee bit of biscuit in the very centre of your tongue, and otherwise it's all about the kind of hoppy side of the beer. So back corners of the palate you do get a little bit of earthiness there. That's a kind of typical trait of Mosaic. And as you move further forward along the side of the tongue, you can feel there is a little bit of a floral note comes out on the front corners of the palate. Then round the very edge of the tongue it's a little bit lighter and grassy. Then behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you get the nice kind of juicy fruity esters, and it's also where the kind of sour side of this beer comes out as well. So yeah, when you take this beer in, you do get a little bit of that kind of tart, citricy kind of thing out of it, but it very quickly smoothens out and becomes more juicy and wet. I mean, to me this is a very wet feeling beer. Normally from a Saison you would expect it to be quite a kind of thick beer in my mind. I always expect the Saisons to be quite kind of thick and smooth, but I guess if this one's barrel aged, that anything, whenever you barrel age a beer, it takes the mouthfeel, it sort of thins the mouthfeel out and gives you some more kind of infused flavours, and that's probably why the kind of doughy, yeasty kind of qualities out of this one don't feel as thick. The barrel aging will have kind of thinned that out a little bit and infused the flavours a little bit more. But yeah, when you take this in, you do get a little bit of a kind of, you do get a wee bit more of a kind of, how do you say, there is a wee bit more of a a tart citrickiness in the beginning. You do get some of these apple and peary esters towards the front of the tongue as well, but then in that oily part behind the front curve of your palate, it's mainly a kind of light orangey tangerine, but it doesn't feel quite as prominent as you can sometimes get from Mosaic because of all these kind of vinous qualities and things. You do get a kind of, the further you go into the aftertaste, you will get more of a kind of white, green, grapey quality out of this. You've got the appley, peary notes from the citric quality, like I was saying, and then you've also got the kind of orangey, tangerine qualities too, which is quite interesting. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just focus on that. The fruity side of this beer at the front is interesting. So a little bit sharp when you take it in, it really rolls out and becomes more wet and juicy later. Tangerine orangey stuff beyond that, bit of an appley peary ester. And also just, you know, a wee bit of that kind of white wine, white green grapey sort of thing coming out of this beer the further you go into the aftertaste. I mean, this is nice. I mean, when I think about the other, I've always said the Kernel beers for me are not the boldest of things. I've only had 3 or 4 of them right enough, so take that comment with a bit of a pinch of salt. But the thing that I've always felt about Kernel is that their beers are very drinkable and the flavours blend together quite nicely actually. So yeah, I really need to try a few more different styles from these guys and just you know, see what they're really all about. This is really one of the breweries that I want to visit with Craig in London, so I'm sure we'll make that happen at some point actually. That really would be quite a nice little visit to go on with him. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But this is a very nice, drinkable, quite summery beer in my opinion. So yeah, maybe I need to try a few more of the different varieties of this. But yeah, this one, nice to return to Kernel with something like this. In terms of the mouthfeel, this is quite a light-bodied beer. It really is very light-bodied. The carbonation, it does give it a little bit of crispness. This one, I would say that overall this is quite a wet and a really light mouthfeel rather than anything else. In terms of hoppy bitterness, in terms of hoppy bitterness, I would say this one, I think you're lucky to get about 15 IBUs out of this, if that, probably even less to be honest, about 10 or something. Malt base and yeasty notes, it is very, very smooth. There's a little bit of sweetness in there. And on the fruity side of things, you've got a little bit of a sharp kind of tartness on the beginning, but that very quickly fades away and becomes a very wet, juicy quality, and you've got some nice fruity juiciness the further you go into the aftertaste with this beer as well. But overall, and really just quite a nice, summery, light, drinkable beer this compared to anything else. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This one was the Biere de Saison Mosaic, a barrel-aged, French white wine barrel-aged Saison dry hop with Mosaic. So yeah, I like how this one really goes together. It's a really interesting beer, and it was nice to return to Kernel with something like this. As I said to you, my impression of Kernel is that their beers are always very kind of nice and sessionable and drinkable. So yeah, if that's your sort of thing, then Kernel are a brewery that you definitely want to check out. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from the Kernel Brewery as well. As I say, hopefully I can go with Craig and do an out and about filming thing at their tap room in Bermondsey. That would be awesome to do. But thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Until the next time, Slàinte, Skål, make sure you check out the Kernel beer, and make sure you go and check out some of the English guys on BeerTube. Cheers.